it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 31 of my 2020 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a card using Sunny Studios, North Pole, and Penguin Pals stamp set. So I have stamped out a few of the images on some neenah Solar White cardstock with Lawn Fawn jet black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. I've also taken one of the patterns from the Holiday Cheer 6x6 and placed that under my panel with my images so that I can color to match my pattern paper. I'm starting with my Elves, and for this guy's skin I used E000, E00, and E11. So I laid in some shadow up under his hairline and a little bit on his ears and hands, blended that out with the E00, finished with the E000, and I'm going to color one of the girls with the same exact combo. And then for the other two, I'm going to use E00, E11, and E13, just so we get a little bit of a variation of skin tone here. And coloring in the same way with the shadows up under the hairline and blending down so that we have a nice highlight on the center of the face. Then I'm going back to my first little guy. I'm going to color him to be a blonde. So I'm using E50, E51, and E53. But because these images are simply drawn, I don't want to get carried away with the shading. I want the coloring to kind of match the style of the images. So I just did some very simple shading with the darkest at the top of the head and then blended down toward the tips of the highlight, and then added a bit more of my darkest color for a few little streaks in there, and I did the little girl on the end as well. And then the other two I'm going to do as brunettes, so I'm using E43, E44, and E47, coloring the same way with the darkest at the crown of the head and the lightest on the tips, and then going back with my darkest color again to add a few little streaks to give it that kind of textured look for the hair. And I'll do the other boy the same as this little girl here. So I'm moving on to their little outfits, and the first color that I'm choosing to highlight from that pattern paper is that lighter green polka dot. So I pulled YG21, YG23, and YG25 for that, and I'm coloring with the shadows on the underside of his arms and along the sides of his body, and then blending out with the YG23 as my midtone, and then adding some YG21 for the highlight. So I'm going to do his main outfit. I'm going to color his hat to match. For that, I'm adding the shadow right above that spiky hat brim, because I figured that material would be casting a shadow up there. So I used the Y25 for that, blended out with the YG23, finished with the YG21, and then I will complete his outfit for the green part with some little booties to match. And then off screen, I'm going to color in some of the accessories for the other little elves. For his hat brim, I'm using BG00 and BG02, just those two shades because it's such a small area. So I did that as well as the collar of his shirt and his leggings. I laid in the BG02 first and then blended out with the BG000. And then I'm moving on after coloring in the little girl next to him, her outfit with those same shades, and then also a few more accessories. For her hat brim and collar and leggings, I wanted to pull out that pink polka dot from the pattern paper, so I'm using RV13, RV14, and RV17. So everybody is going to have the same hat, tunic, and shoes with the same color, and then the hat brim, collar, and leggings will also match. For the little girl on the far right, I'm going to continue using these shades, the RV13, RV14, and RV17. So I just kind of swapped the areas that I colored for the two girls with these shades. And then I had also done that with the boys. So the boy on the far left has that light green on the main part of his outfit, and then the guy over on the right hand side has that same light green on his like accessory parts. So I just thought it would be fun to do the same for the girls. I wanted them to all tie in together but still have their own distinct personalities, and I do think that came across. I wanted to tie in that darker green polka dot on that pattern paper somewhere. So for her little hat brim and collar and leggings, I'm going to use G40, G43, and G46. So the G46 is my shadowed area, and then I'm blending that out with the G43 as my mid-tone, and then I'll use the G40 as my lightest. And I did forget to do her collar because there's only a little bit showing on either side of the present in her arms, but I'll go back and do that later. And then the last color in that pattern paper is red, so I'm going to do this other little boy's outfit in R24, R29, and R39. So I use the R39 as my darkest on the undersides of his arms and along his body and at the bottom edge of his little hat. And then I'm going to blend that out with the R29. Also did his little shoes. And when I get towards the center, I'm just going really careful around those buttons because I do want to color those in some different shades just to kind of tie in that polka dot pattern there. So I'm just being really careful around those tiny little areas because it's real quick and easy to get those covered up with your darker colors, especially reds. So just using the very tip of my marker and going slow around those areas so that they don't get filled in. So I'm just going to continue blending out all of those white areas with that R24. And then for the little jingle bell on the end of their hat and also their belt buckles, I'm going to use C1 and C3. And I'll trim these images out with their matching dies. So I'm going to choose 2 more prints from that Holiday Cheer 6x6 pack to go along with that polka dot print. I chose this white tone-on-tone snowflake, and I thought the candy print would also be fun. So I trimmed out the snowflake print with the outer die from the Frilly Frames Quatrefoil. Then I die cut the window quad circle from that and also used one of the slimline basic borders to die cut the bottom. And now I pop that into my MISTI so that I can stamp my sentiment onto that panel before I assemble the card. I'm using Lawn Fawn's Peacock ink and stamping Have Your Elf a Merry Little Christmas, which I just love. That's one of my absolute favorite Christmas songs, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, especially the Judy Garland version. Oh, love it. So I stamped that down a few times to get a nice bold impression. And I'm going to pop my card base in my MISTI as well so I can finish off the inside. So I'm taking another one of the little elf images and a sentiment from Inside Greetings Holiday that says, wishing you a holiday filled with peace, love, joy, and lasting happiness, which I think we all could definitely use. So now I'm ready to assemble my card. I've got my pieces of pattern paper ready. I have lined the back of my window frame with some foam tape. So I'm just peeling off those release papers, and then I'm going to line that up over top of the polka dot print and use that adhesive to pick that panel up. And then I'm also going to add this little candy print down at the bottom of my card. So I'm going to just line that up with the bottom edge and make sure that that is on there nice and straight. And that will just provide an extra little pop of color down there at the bottom, and also just some fun because who doesn't love candy? So I'll pop the window frame up at the top, and then I'm going to grab my images. I've added some foam tape to the back of all of my little elves as well, so I'm just going to start tucking them into the little window. I picked the little girl in pink first, and I added her in the bottom left, and then I thought I'd put the other little girl in the top right to kind of balance her out. I had to trim off the bottom of her shoes just to make her fit a little bit better because of that foam tape that I put in between there, just to kind of really make sure that the card was supported so it would travel well through the mail. And then I'm going to take this little boy here and I'm going to add him to the top left one. And I just added him so that he was at a little bit of an angle just to make it extra fun, since he had his arms kind of thrown out and I didn't want him to be exactly the same as the girl beside him. And then I added the little boy in red down in the bottom right. And I'm going to have him holding that plate of cookies. So I just glued that into place and lined it up between his two hands so it looks like he's holding that tray. And then for the little boy in the top, I gave him the letter to Santa. And then the little girl in the top right is going to get the candy cane. So they all have a little accessory. So I'm going to finish up the card with a bit of Stardust Stickles. I'm going to add it to the little jingle bells on their hats, and also their belt buckles and the hat brim, and then to a little bit of their accessories. I put it on the stamp on the letter to Santa and the bow on the gift, on the candy cane, and I'll also put it on the rim of the plates on that little platter in his hands. And I also did it to the collars on their shirts as well. So this is the final card in my 2020 holiday card series. We made it to 31 cards, so one for every day of December, even though I started back in September. So there was a close-up look and another peek at the inside, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this series this year, and thank you so much for all of the support and the love that you've shown me in the comments. It has meant the world to me. So if you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and comment and subscribe. All of that interaction helps my channel to grow, and I appreciate it so much. If you're interested in any of the products that I used today, you'll find them listed and linked below the video. And if you'd like to keep watching, here are 2 extra videos I thought you might also enjoy. Wishing you all a happy and healthy holiday season. Bye-bye.